myself when I face my death. People woke up and there ain't no sorrow. Ain't no more gonna tell you that. Only reason I don't wanna give it up. Came down from the heavens above and told all the people come and this is it now. Got this just in a life, do we make a difference? What the fuck you gonna...
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Freedom's Calling You to Life's Lost Purpose. Finding your missing bits and whatever it is that you feel like you need to grow up with. I'm here talking with Sherry Swiney. She's worked with us over the years. She publishes lots of articles on the New Agora on our website. She is the co-author of the That's a Lie program. So she's very familiar with the challenges in life that could be in your way for finding your life's lost purpose. She was kindly offered to help us edit all of the workplace sheets that you may see or may have seen if you've already taken our course. And today, Sherry is going to discuss with me some of the ups and downs and ins and outs and good points and even bad points, if she has any, on our course, what could work and what may work for you on Freedom's Calling You to Life's Lost Purpose. Let's say, as my wife likes to look at it, it's a course on self-empowerment, finding more love, more power, more purpose for your life. Hey, Sherry.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for joining us here today. And this is my first direct, question and answer on myself, so to speak. So thank you for taking up the task with us.
Okay, well, I'll do my best. Yeah. So where do you want to go with this?
Well, let's see. What did you find useful on the course? You watched all the videos. Do you have any questions for me? What do you think our viewers maybe can do and grow with? And let's take it from there.
Well, the personal exploration of the whole course in general is necessary for everybody, I think, unless you want to continue living under a rock and not evolving at all. And I think most people want to evolve at some point, or they wonder, what's going on in life and how did I get here and where am I going? And do I have a purpose? And if so, what is my purpose? That's something that I think we all struggle with, because in listening to people talk over the years, I'm thinking, okay, this person found their purpose and they're going with it. And most of us think, well, okay, if I have a purpose, what is it? How do I know that this is my purpose? And for me, I don't know what my purpose is, really. I can't pinpoint it as a thing. As far as I'm concerned, my main purpose is to get as spiritual as I can before I leave this earth. And so, that's where I'm going with it. And I don't know what other people do, but that's my purpose. And in the meantime, while I'm trying to get more spiritual, live a spiritual life, I don't like to preach to people because I don't like preaching myself. I don't like other people telling me what to do.
Yeah.
So I try not to tell people what to do. So I try to live so that, if people notice, well, something's going right with her, so what is she doing? Maybe that's the way to do it. Live by example.
I hear you.
Yeah.
The trick with our course, calling it Finding Life's Lost Purpose or Your Missing Purpose, of course, is there is no real purpose to life other than what you say it is, in my opinion. As you say, we don't want to tell anyone what to do either. The whole course, even though there's 9 videos, lots of questions and answers, lots of potential, lots of essays and explorations, none of it is really suggesting other than you uncover your own missing bits, what you may have lied to yourself about, what you may be hiding from yourself, what you maybe wanted to pick up when you were little and dropped, what you maybe would still like to do, but for one reason or another have decided, you can't or you shouldn't or you mustn't, but, you still really, really deep in your heart want to. In other words, finding life's lost purpose, I don't want to give away the ending to the course, but I'm going to, you are life's lost purpose, right? What you decide to do is your purpose. Where you want to go is your power. And our course is generally built around allowing people, in my opinion, if they put in the work, to find themselves, which will allow them to, move happily from there, I would say.
Yeah. And the thing is, when we typically we grow up as children, when we're little, between the age of 0 and 7, say, our mind is a sponge. And so we take everything in our surroundings as real, as the truth, as the way things are. So every culture is different. Every family has different beliefs. There's kind of a general community belief, or a general nation belief, or a general cultural belief. But that's what we grow up with. That's what we think we know as the truth. And then as we get older and we want to go somewhere else, that background is stopping us. So you have to, well, you don't have to, but the thing to do is to go inside and look, okay, so what is that thing that's stopping me from going forward to do what I think I really want to do? And I think that's the hardest thing for anybody to do. It was hard for me. I didn't realize what was stopping me until I started remembering what happened to me. So once I remembered what happened to me, it's like, oh, okay, well, that was a pack of lies. I never was the kind of individual that I was told that I was. So I had to get over that. I had to, and it took a long time. It took a lot of self-convincing that, okay, I lived with a bunch of lies. I was told a bunch of lies from a child on up to adulthood. And we're all hearing lies
all the time,
every single day, all the time. So to get to the core, to get to the who you really are, you have to get rid of, I keep saying you have to, I don't want to say that. It's probably a good thing to get to the core belief, the thing that you grew up with that you thought was the truth, and you find out that that's not true. That can be a shocker to a person.
For sure.
And, I know that when I first realized that, for example, that our government was corrupt, and this was a long, long, long time ago, I was like, I'm in my 70s now, so I was in my 20s or 30s when I realized it. And so I actually went through shock, because I had one belief: we can trust our government, and we can trust our teachers, and we can trust our doctors, and doctors are the gods. And when I found out none of that was true, it was like a traumatic experience for me. So I can imagine. And in this course, I don't remember which section it was, but in this course, you touch upon that it's the shock of learning the truth. It's a difficult thing to go through.
It is. I mean, the bottom thing, which I think you're saying, even though you're saying you have to, you must, is I have found that you are the creator of your life. You are the writer of your destiny, the author of your story. Put in whatever analogy you want. And if you're working from a place where parts of yourself are hidden from yourself, you can't tell a complete, whole, and authentic story. And
Right.
as hard as that is for some people to accept, you mentioned before we got on air here, it's all your fault. I mean, that could be a hard way to accept some of the limitations that you've placed on yourself. But, if people look on the other side of that, if you accept the limitations you've placed on yourself, on the other side of that coin, you accept the power to change those limitations. If you're not saying it's someone's fault that I trusted the government, or that I listened to my parents, or that my religion did this, or my grandfather or grandmother taught me this, that, the other thing, they may have gone to teach it to you even when you were 3, 4, or 5, but you decided it was true, even if you were naive, like you say, when you were young and you were a sponge. And that's the time that most little people listen to big people. I mean, I fell into that trap too. But if you look at it honestly, as I am now, I still see that I accepted what they said is true. It was still my responsibility. If grandfather said, hey, this religion is the best and you're this religion, so you're fantastic, and everyone else is a piece of whatever, salami, and you said, hey, that's great, and you grew up trusting in whatever, you did, and then you realized, maybe it was your grandfather that was the piece of salami and not your religion or you, paraphrasing here, then you get the power to reimagine yourself, to rewrite your story, and to pick up the pieces of your lost purpose and give yourself a new direction.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can't, in your grandfather analogy, you can't really blame your grandfather because he learned it from his parents, or
Yeah.
he learned it from his school, or he learned it from his church. There's as you know, I mean, there's an invisible entity that has entered this planet that has been creating chaos throughout time that we know of. I don't know when this entity arrived, but ever since it arrived, its whole goal is to create chaos and confusion and all sorts of negative emotional energy, because it uses that for food. And so this might sound like it's a little off topic, but I think it really plays importantly into this whole course that you're putting on, because if you know that there's this entity doing this to you and to me and to everybody else on the planet, one degree or another, it affects every single person. It puts us in a state of, okay, am I going to listen to this? Am I going to recognize this as a lie and continue to be ignorant? Or am I going to question it? And questioning something is really, really, really important. Ignorance is forgivable. In my book, ignorance is always forgivable. So you can forgive your grandfather because he didn't purposely tell you a lie. He didn't know it was a lie. He really thought that was the truth. And you thought it was the truth until you got to a particular point where you found out that it wasn't the truth. Still, you're responsible for what you believed in. So every single person on this planet has had something to contribute to the way the planet is today. And so we all have to take our bit of responsibility. And this is where I really like the Ho'oponopono prayer. It's a Hawaiian prayer, for those who don't know. It's a very short prayer. It's like, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And what you're saying to the universe is, I'm sorry for my part in creating the world the way that it is today. And I want to do something about that. So I'm going to do my part in getting everything balanced in my life, which will reverberate out, because we're living in a frequency world. Everything is based on frequency. So when I read through your course and watched your videos, I kept that in mind, that, everybody who's taking your course and learning the personal deep dive that you're providing for these people, for the students, it's really helpful to them, because when they realize that everything is really truly their fault, there's an empowerment there. As long as they don't, there's saying it's all your fault, that could create some guilt, that could create some anger, and then so that's like, okay, that's a flavor of denial.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So if you say, well, okay, I'm taking this course because I don't want to be in denial. I want to improve my life. And so if I take responsibility for my part in how my life has gone, how the world is today, and if I realize that I'm at fault for my part of it, I'm not at fault for the whole world, but I'm at fault for my contribution to, because I believed the government was trustworthy, because I believed doctors were trustworthy, because I believed in the history that I was taught in school, which was totally wrong. I didn't find that out until after I got out of school and did my own research. And I'm like, oh, that's not what they taught in school.
No.
Yeah. So, this is really an important course in that sense of the word. Once you realize that, okay, I'm really sorry for my part in this whole thing, and I don't want to do that anymore. So now I need to fess up to it. I need to apologize to the universe for my part in this and ask for forgiveness.
And that's a beautiful way. It is.
It doesn't really matter what religion or if you even, I don't have a religion, But if you do have a religion that you follow, it doesn't matter. You're still, if you want to talk to God and get forgiveness from God, that's fine. If you want to talk to Buddha and get forgiveness from that, that's fine, because it's all the same thing. It's all frequency. So if you can forgive yourself for your part in this whole mess, that's a burden off of you. It's a real empowerment.
What I see Sherry sharing here too, and what I feel a lot of people miss, especially ladies, and I have to say, is that they need to forgive themselves for not being as great as they can be. It's true to forgive the outside world, and I agree with everything Sherry just said, but also I find that a lot of people, and maybe men as well, they just haven't accepted the power that they have, the power to change, the power to be fantastic. A lot of people have said, well, I didn't do anything bad. The government's not my fault. The doctors aren't my fault. The history in school is not my fault. And perhaps that's true. But then from there, maybe you were mean to yourself by not allowing yourself to get strong, by not remembering how powerful you are, by not remembering how much you can affect the world, by just accepting the gifts that we all get simply by being born. And by that, I mean, you're alive. People don't understand, in my opinion, if you sit and you consider what life is. You're here for 100 years. Look at a flower, smell the grass when it's cut, watch a bird fly, and you can see the wonder and the beauty and the magic and the majesty of just having the gift of being able to perceive that, of being able to experience that. I mean, even sitting here right now and sharing with Sherry, she's sharing with me a perspective that I haven't put into the same words that she has, but I feel deeply everything she's sharing. So I can go, isn't that beautiful? I can appreciate her life. I can appreciate how she's seeing the world. I can appreciate, a lady that's on the opposite side of the planet where I am right now, or opposite side of the plane, however you want to look at it, that has a softer perspective than my perspective on the challenges that have gone on. But on the other hand, it's got a quiet power behind it that I think everyone can learn and grow and be a part of. And so what I'm really getting at is, by me seeing the gratitude I feel for what she's doing, I get uplifted knowing not everyone is lost in their own folly of nonsense and negative emotion. And that gives me a bit of a lift to move along, to continue to share the course that I've shared. I wanted to say a little bit, why Campbell and I, and he's a little under the weather today, so Sherry and I are doing this interview, brought this course out, is when I was little, I wish someone should have shared or could have shared with me everything that's being shared today. Sherry is talking to the little girl inside, or the little boy inside, by what you picked up, when grandpa talked to you and gave you the bad salami, so to speak. But if I had had the ability to learn then what I know now, perhaps I would have moved along a little faster. So that's why I did this course. That's why I've set up this course. That's why I've gone through all the efforts. That's why I've asked Sherry to help us. There's a whole bunch of people besides myself and Sherry and Campbell involved in this course, behind the scenes, that helped us put it together. And we've all come together because in one way or another, we all want to help the world in the best way you can. And that's to understand, you're powerful, you're fantastic, you can do it all, you can forgive yourself, you can forgive the world. You can see the monsters inside that are lying to us all constantly. And, maybe that's a topic for another day. We can go deeper into that one, Sherry, because it is what informed the entire course, to be honest. I didn't say it out loud. And so I'm happy you brought that to the table. But, the monster voice mind that lies to us all from the time we decide to listen to our minds really is the challenge of challenges, and the reason that this course even exists, I think, because that is, in my opinion, the big thing that's misdirected everyone to wherever they are, where they're not happy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And in talking about gifts, every day I'm grateful for having another day. And maybe that's because I'm getting up there in age and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know how many more years or how much more time I have on this planet. And so that's one of the driving forces for wanting me to be, wanting to be as spiritual as I can by the time that I leave. And so I realized that life itself is a wonderful gift. The fact that I exist is awesome. I mean, that's a wonderful gift. If I didn't exist, I wouldn't know anything at all. I wouldn't be aware of it. I just wouldn't exist, right? There wouldn't be anything there to do anything, to think anything, to feel anything. So what I'm getting at is if you can realize that, okay, the fact that I exist is a gift. I didn't ask to exist because I wasn't existing before it. So how could I ask to exist? So this is a gift. Life is a gift. And then we have this dark entity that is against God or against the universe or against happiness and all those things that are available to us. And we don't know any better because we don't remember what we did in our previous life because that's been wiped away. I have a theory on that, and there's a theory going around the internet about that too. But that's beyond this course. But when you can see the beauty in the flower, you can see the beauty in the forest. You can see the beauty in a butterfly landing on a flower or a honeybee landing on a flower, or even a wasp landing on a flower, doing its job. And then you can see the beauty of just the grass growing. I mean, to me, that's all a gift, and it's a beautiful thing. But when we're busy fighting the demons within, we don't even notice those things at all. We don't pay any attention. So the old saying, stop and smell the coffee, or stop and smell the roses, or whatever the phrase is, I don't remember it now. That's a meaningful thing to, when you're having a tough time and you're arguing with somebody, or you're feeling some hatred, or you're feeling like, I just wish that all these lies would stop and it's driving me crazy. That's the time to stop and smell the roses. Get a hold of, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to send any more negative energy out so that the demons can feast on me. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to realize, okay, I'm here. I exist. I was created with love. I wasn't created with fear. I wasn't created with hatred. I wasn't created with, all these terrible things that are going on this planet right now that everybody is seeing. I mean, I don't know anybody who's not seeing that. Even the ones who believe the lies, they're caught up in it too. And heaven help them if they don't come around and see that they're lies. To me, in my theory, they'll just have to come back and do it all again. And I, for one, don't want to come back and do this all again. I want to go on to whatever is next. And I can't say what's next, but whatever it is, it'll be different than here. So yeah. So, I mean, I think that's part of, it seems to me that's part of what your course is trying to do with people, to help them realize the power that they have, the power that they've been given. And that power is a gift. But it doesn't come to fruition until the bad stuff, the negative stuff, is dealt with and forgiven.
Yeah, it's like all gifts. You have to exercise it. You have to use the power. You have to use your attention. You have to use your dreaming energy. You have to use your days. And, you'd be surprised every day that I decide to stop thinking and take a walk, or every day that I decide to stop thinking and go look at some flowers in the park instead, or just walk around and, see what the birds have to say, or just listen for a sound I haven't heard before, is a day that I get to get above the craziness, above the lies. And it reminds me, it's a good way Sherry put it, go look at a butterfly, go look at a bee, go look at a flower the next time, you forget that your existence is wonderful, magical, and you won't be here forever.
Yeah. And I live in the forest. And so every morning when I get up, and first thing in the morning, I like to get up early enough to watch the sunrise. Even if it doesn't happen, that's okay. But the first thing that I like to do is go out on my porch with my cup of coffee. And as I walk outside, I say, good morning, everybody. I love you. Because that's how I feel. So I'm talking to the trees, I'm talking to the grasses, I'm talking to the animals that are out there. And, and then I just sit and have my coffee and appreciate my surroundings and appreciate that I even exist. That's a big one for me. That when I realized that I exist, and I mean, it sounds strange to say, oh, that was a big deal for me, but it is a big deal, because who stops and thinks about that? Who actually takes some time to stop and think, holy cow, I really do exist. Isn't that something? That's a miracle,
It really is. I mean, I planted
Yeah.
seeds and I watched them grow, even a citrus plant here. I mean, it's wonderful. You look like, how does that become a huge tree full of, grapefruits one day? How does this little tiny seed you can barely see become a tomato plant in 3 months with more tomatoes than you could possibly eat? You have to share.
Absolutely.
I mean, the wonderful gifts are all around us. We just have to pick them up. The program really is about, or the course, self-empowerment. And I don't mean like you're better than someone or you can go make $1 million. All those things are possible. It's power in the way of just understanding the life force you have, life gift you have. As Sherry said, the beauty of your awareness and your consciousness and the potential to make it more beautiful than it is today. And if things are ugly in your life, or things are fearful, or things are horrible, realize the power to change comes from understanding how you participated in those ugly bits that you may be experiencing. Even if someone else did something to you, or it looks like you were a victim, why were you in that room? Why did you go to that school? Why did you choose that job? Why did you stay in that relationship for so long? These are just some things I suggest you look at. Why do you continually talk to the same person that's arguing with you every day? And you're saying, it's not my fault. They're always belittling me, or they're always putting me down. And maybe it's true. I'm not going to argue the other side of the coin, but what I learned is, then ask yourself, why do you consistently interact with this person, right? I mean, even if you're married, even if they're your parents, even if they're your children or your siblings, you have a choice to take yourself out of those situations if they're not to your liking, whatever they are. And then whatever excuse you have for not taking yourself out of that situation, be it monetarily, be it related by blood, so to speak, or by circumstance, that's the challenge you're facing to find your purpose. You have to find a way to extricate yourself from whatever you're not happy with, and to take responsibility for being there in the first place and helping to create it. And then from there, who knows what will happen, but I can almost guarantee that when you make a new choice, or when you turn in a new direction, new ideas and new inspirations, as a matter of course, usually come to you, even right away, and they're usually a surprise. They're usually something you always knew existed, but you didn't know at the same time. I found, something I never knew I always wanted, is the way I've put it. So that's, that's how I met my wife. Something I always knew I never knew I always wanted, until it's there. You go, I always wanted this. I just didn't know. But yeah, it shows up anyways.
A big mistake that a lot of people make, and I used to make this mistake too, because I was raised in a household that believed that this was true. My mother, for example, believed that she could change people. She could make them be her vision of what she thought they should be. And this is a big deal around the world. And so, like, okay, so let's take Klaus Schwab, for example. He thinks he can change the whole world to think the way that he thinks. Well, that's not true. That's not true. And on a smaller personal level, if you're in a family where people aren't acting the way you want them to act, and you think you can change them, you're fooling yourself. You're lying to yourself. You can't change anybody, but you can change yourself. That was a hard lesson for me to learn, because I had grown up in a household that really thought that, I didn't like it. My mother, I knew that I wasn't being what my mother wanted, but I couldn't be what my mother wanted because I wasn't her. And I tried to tell her that, but she just didn't want to hear it. So, and then I went to school and had teachers that thought that they could change me. And of course that didn't work either. So then I was in a relationship where I was sure that I could change this guy to be a rational, loving human being. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, that's not true. That's a big lie. And that's these entities telling you all these friggin' lies that, yeah, you can change this person. And then you go to try to save this person. You want to save this person. And you're fooling yourself. You're lying to yourself. And then you're causing havoc in the meantime, and you're stirring up arguments. And, people have to be who they are. They have to be accepted for who they are. So once I started accepting that, everything changed. Like right away, everything changed. Yeah. And so the other thing that you're saying too is that there's no reason to stick around a person who is constantly belittling you or constantly picking an argument with you, constantly disagreeing with you. Not that you are always right, but you need to be open to being wrong. And being wrong is something that nobody likes at all. It always feels real icky, like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. Oh, that's terrible. And I'm going to rake myself over the coals for days for that. And worry about it and, try to maybe hide it. And that's not good. You have to be, here we go, have to. Yeah. It's wise to be open to being wrong and accepting that, okay, I'm not perfect. I made this mistake. And this person has, more valid information than I do. And so, yeah, let me think about that.
Yeah. And also, why you tend to agree to be in a disagreeable relationship. Maybe you have some inner work to do where you're disagreeing with your own higher self all the time. That's another reflection is if you're disagreeing with your heart constantly, your heart is saying you want to do this and you disagree. Maybe the outside world in that your disagreeable relationship is showing you, from the other side. And, that's another way to, if you step back from that relationship and sit in a room by yourself, maybe for a week or two, you'll be able to get a handle on that and find that, you don't need to hang out with disagreeable people because you're now agreeing with the better parts of yourself. So, there's a lot of ways that you can help yourself. And usually, as Sherry said, and I've seen, it's by understanding yourself as deep as you can.
Yeah. And when you first dive in to try to understand yourself, there may be a bit of fear of, well, what if I don't like what I see? Well, you can't be afraid of that because, as long as you are afraid to look, you're never going to get anywhere.
All right. Well, you know what? I think we may have even covered everything without even looking at any of the specifics at the course. I mean, I think that's the best way to almost to leave that. It's like, as long as you're afraid to look because you're afraid of the answers, you're not going to get anywhere. I found that to be the case when I talked to my father, let's say, about the current medical situation that he's fallen headfirst into. I think he's afraid to see he's made a mistake because then he would have to change a whole bunch of his choices in life or admit he was wrong about 60 years worth of whatever. So as long as you're not afraid to admit you've been wrong and you let yourself pick up the pieces of whatever it is that you dropped or broke and put them back together, well, you can only get better, in my opinion, no matter how hard it happens to look at it at first.
I agree with you completely. These are some big challenges in your course, and they are all for the better to make life better for the individual.
Well,
you have to do the work, though. If they don't
do
the work,
if
they don't do the work, I mean, in my story, I wrote the That's a Lie program. I'm not the co-author. I'm the developer and the writer and the co-author of that. I'm the co-author of the book that Jerry Marcinski and I wrote.
Right.
But people come to me and say, "Well, I tried the That's a Lie program and it didn't work." I said, well, okay, so how long did you try it? Well, I tried it for a day and, 2 days. I tried it for a week. It didn't work. Okay, well, did you, if you keep up with it, it will work. Things don't happen overnight. It does for some people, but for the most part, it takes a little while to get a hold of it. Now, we've seen testimonies of the That's a Lie program has worked beautifully. It worked for me. I can't guarantee it's going to work for everybody, but those who have done it and done the work, it works. those who do this course and do the work, it'll work.
It's really the bottom line to all of this. You know,
Mhm.
it's why we've left things a bit vague. You know, you'll find in the questions and answers in the worksheet sure has helped us put together. You know, we don't get too specific on purpose because we want whoever's doing and playing and figuring out and writing the essays and answering their own questions to get to their own conclusions, because there's no other way to pick up your power than to pick up your power. And there's no other way, in our opinion, to pick up your power than to figure out and understand yourself, you know, where you've been right, where you've been wrong, where you could do more, where you can do less, you know, where you need to go, where you need to stay. And really, it's all up to you. It's all your fault. And that's the beauty in this life. And in my opinion is, you know, if it's all up to you and it's all your fault, then also the power and the beauty and the wonderment of where you need to go and how you need to get there and who you want to be and how great your life can be and how many flowers you get to smell, et cetera, is also up to you, which for me is the best news ever.
Yeah. Take off your mask, look at yourself, and then go forward.
Yay. All right, Sherry, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to leave a link to Sherry. That's a live program underneath as well. I will obviously leave a link to the course, Freedom's Calling You to Life's Lost Purpose. Come to the newagora.ca where there's all this information. Sherry shares lots of articles. There's lots of beautiful videos. There's also a link to this course as well. If anybody has any questions for Sherry, any suggestions for further courses we may do, interviews, comments, please leave them below. We're delighted. I pass those along to Sherry that come to us for her. I'm always happy to hear what people have to say, as long as it's intelligent and constructive. And, you know, for further information, I'll leave my email below as well. And if anybody has anything they want to share, don't be shy. Sherry, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is my first interview of this. I hope to talk to you. Maybe we'll get into some monster below, you know, fifth dimensional entity, you know, eating your happiness chats afterwards. I'd be delighted to do that as well. Maybe in the new year, you and I will hop on a couple of other chats and figure that out together. All right.
Okay.
Me too.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. I love you all very much. Thanks for being here. More very soon. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Come to our course. If you want to join, we can figure it out. I appreciate your time.
Freedom, 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 yeah. Freedom, freedom, freedom is calling on. Freedom, 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 yeah. Freedom, freedom, freedom is calling on. Freedom, 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 yeah. Freedom, freedom, freedom is calling on.